All right, guys, I'm back. All right, practice question number 2. I think we have the video here problem solved, so hopefully it'll stay steady for you. All right, so practice question 2, very easy, says, well, not very easy, but easily at the top says, assume a country's economy is currently in recession. All right, so we're, assume it's right now, right? The U.S., okay? The economy is currently in recession. So part A, draw a correct labeled graph of long run, short run ag supply, and then aggregate demand, and show each of the following. So part 1 says current real output labeled Y1, current price level labeled PL1, full employment labeled YF. All right, so we just have to show in the model here what a recession looks like, but we have to use long run. Okay, so just like in question 1, price level, real GDP, long run aggregate supply. We can immediately label YF right here because we know that that would be the full employment level. Okay, now we're in a recession. Okay, remember 99.9% of recessions are caused by a decrease in aggregate demand. Okay, so we've got our short run aggregate supply curve. Okay, and then we're going to have our aggregate demand curve. Okay, and now we want to label the current equilibrium. It says to label it Y1, and then the current price level PL1. All right, so there's our recession. Okay, here's our new short run equilibrium. Okay, part B, identify one action the central bank can take to help the economy recover from this recession. So it doesn't say explain, it just says identify one particular action the central bank can take. Whenever you see it say central bank, just think of the Fed. Just think what the Fed could potentially do. All right, so we know the Fed has 3 basic tools. And in this situation, the Fed's going to be looking to boost the economy. It's going to be looking to provide some sort of monetary stimulus. All right, so our choices would be to buy bonds. All right, that would be one potential answer. We could decrease the reserve requirement. If you decrease the reserve requirement, you give banks more money to lend out. Hopefully that provides some stimulus. And then we could decrease the discount rate, the rate in which the Fed charges its member banks to borrow directly from the Fed. So either one of those would be correct because it just asks you identify one action the central bank could take. So any one of those would potentially help. So you just have to pick one. All right, so now part C says draw a correctly labeled graph of the money market and show the impact of the central bank's action identified in part B on the nominal interest rate. So whatever you chose for part B, we need to show that now with the money market in part C. All right, so we're going to go over, draw the money market again. I'm going to abbreviate a little bit here now. So we've got nominal interest rate, and we've got the quantity of money. We have our money supply curve, money demand curve, nominal rate, okay? And now since we're providing monetary stimulus, okay, we should see an increase in the money supply. All right, so that should be a rightward shift of our new money supply curve. And we have our new nominal rate of interest. We can see that the nominal rate has decreased as a result of the central bank's action. Okay. All right. Now, for part D, it says on your graph in part A, so back here, all right, it says show the effect of the central bank's action identified in part B on real output and the price level. All right, so we know that the Fed is looking to stimulate the economy. Okay, they're providing monetary stimulus. We see that here in the money market. Now, what does that now look like over here? We should see a boost to aggregate demand. So what you might want to show, you could use a different color pen. All right, but what we want to see now is this boost in aggregate demand that now takes us back to full employment. Okay, so that's what we should see. This now increase in aggregate demand that's caused by that monetary stimulus, and it takes us back to full employment. Okay, so here's the impact on output, and then we also have to show the impact on the price level. Okay, so we've done that now. And now part E says, assume there's an increase in business confidence as a result of the central bank's actions. Businesses are now, thinking that the future is going to be more favorable for them. So part 1 there says, what will happen to the demand for capital goods? Remember, capital goods are the things that businesses need to produce whatever it is that they're producing. So if they're encouraged about the future, they're going to demand more capital goods. Okay, so very easy there. We just say an increase in the demand for capital goods. And then now part 2 says draw a correctly labeled graph of the loanable funds market and show the effect of the change identified in part E1 on the real interest rate. So now we have to show with businesses demanding more capital goods and having to actually borrow more money, what that looks like. All right, so we're going to look at our loanable funds market. Remember, loanable funds market, real interest rate, the quantity of loanable funds, the supply of loanable funds, the demand for loanable funds, and our real interest rate. All right, so we know that businesses are borrowing more now, okay, because they've got a greater demand for capital. All right, so the demand for loanable funds will increase. So we get that rightward shift. We have our new loanable funds equilibrium. All right, we can see that the real rate of interest is rising now as a result. Okay, so that's what we should see in our loanable funds market. And then the last part, part F, says, given your answer to part E, what is the effect on potential real output in the long run, and explain. All right, so now that we've seen this happen and real interest rates are rising, what potentially can that mean for growth in the long run? All right, it means potentially that we're going to see less growth in the long run. And the reason why, the explanation, is because now you have higher real interest rates. With higher real interest rates, it's going to make it more difficult for businesses to borrow. Okay? If it's more difficult for them to borrow, they invest less, all right, and we don't see as much real growth. All right, so that's that question there, similar to question 1. Those are kind of the longer form questions that you'll potentially get on the exam in May. All right. I've got 2 more questions to go through, okay? And so I will add those to Google Classroom as soon as I can. All right, thanks guys.